Howdy, hello. I thought, first of all, I wanted to just introduce myself quickly because there are so many thousands of people finding us over the last few months. So I'm just conscious that some people might be new here and you've not tuned in before. So I just wanted to quickly say hi, welcome. If you're new around here, please do leave us a comment and let us know. And a quick summary. We are United Art Space, which is myself, and we have a team now, which is brilliant. A year ago, just over a year ago, I did everything in United Art Space myself. It was a vision to bring artists together in a community and really fulfill the belief that I have that everyone has a place in the art world. It's my mission to help people really feel confident and find their own unique voice and find their place in the world. And so that's why the podcast was born, the Europe Matters podcast. We have a group called The Hub where we help people make art their living. And we've got a free group called the Virtual Art Studio. And this has grown over the last 5 years. So a big welcome to everyone who's new and who has just found us. It's an amazing, supportive community. And you'll find lots more information on our website, which is www.unitedartspace.org. And that brings me to today's topic. Every Monday I go live and that gets turned into a podcast, and it's Motivational Monday. And it's usually based around something that's happened in my life the week before. That's usually the topic. And this week, I wanted to talk about something that's been cropping up a lot in the last week for me. Lots of conversations. And it's always spooky when this happens because most weeks I don't know what I'm going to talk about on Monday till literally 10 minutes before. And I go, and I literally sit down and I think, what's happened this week? And this week there's been recurring conversations. And it's like, that has to be the topic for the live and the podcast this week. And that is this feeling in people around making art after having had a break or after having been told at some point that they should give up on art. Their art is not good enough. Now, it's usually, sadly, and I'm not labeling all art tutors because there are so many amazing art tutors out there in the world, but there are a lot of people that when they went to school and they practice art at school, they didn't get the grade, or they were told by their tutor that they're just not cut out to be an artist, they should pursue something else. And I've spoken to so many people just in the last week who have shared these stories with me, and I've heard them over the last 5 years. It's one of the biggest issues I've seen in people is that at some point they were criticized and it stayed with them and it blocked them from making art. And I even spoke to someone today. He's like in his 50s. And he said, yeah, I've not made art since I was at school. I loved it. He said, I got so much joy from making art. He said it felt really good to me. And then when my results came in and I was told that I was not good enough to be an artist, I just stopped. And that was like 40 odd years ago. And he hasn't done it since. And now he's got this crippling anxiety around making art, the art that he really, really enjoyed. And he said, I really want to, but I'm just so scared. I spoke to another lady, and again, she said at school, I was told I wasn't good enough. And I stopped. I didn't make art for 15 years. I was the same when I left school. I didn't make art for at least 15 years because I failed. And I felt like, well, that's it. There's no point in me making art anymore. And on the other side, also just want to say that a lot of it can come from school. A lot of it can come from friends and family, I've heard as well. and I've had this myself. I've had someone say to me, "You'll never be a painter. Give up. Why are you doing this? You're never going to be a painter." He actually said those words to me. And again, I've had lots of people share that criticism from people they care about is also really crippling and stops people from making art. I spoke to another friend last week, and she's a little bit different, but it comes from the same place of crippling anxiety around making. For her, the criticism is coming from herself. So this is somebody that made art for many, many years. She even had a great job as a designer, and art has always been her life. And then she got sidetracked and ended up in a different job and lost the momentum of creating art, and now is in a situation where she wants to return back to make it art, but she's just too terrified. It's just too scary. And she said, and I'm looking at this canvas and I'm just thinking, I just don't know where to start. I can't physically do it. It's making me feel really anxious. So from all these stories, it made me start to realize a lot about why I set up United Art Space in the first place, because I remember myself, and I still have these feelings and have done. I've had periods where I haven't made, and then it becomes a big issue in my head, and then I start making again, and then I'll drop off, and then you'll want to make art in a certain way, and you feel that you're not good enough to make that kind of art, and then the fear comes in again. It's like this never-ending cycle. But I wanted to share today, if anyone here, because I know we've got a lot of new people finding us, but not just for the new people, for the people that have been around for a long time, this is something that it will continually happen, especially to yourself. I bet you bully yourself and criticize yourself when it comes to your own art. And so we have created some resources on our website. One of them is 7 Days of Inspiration. And you can go on the website and you can download that and use that to start getting back into the art making process. If you feel that you might want to make a living from art, we've got some free workshops coming up soon that help you start to see that you have a place in the world, and it doesn't matter why you make art or what stage you are or what age you are. There is a place for you. You can carve out your own place. And on the website, we've also got a free guide, which is 31 ideas for your next social media post. So go and check those out. But in terms of the making, what I have found, and this was the advice I gave to my friend, is to, when you've had a break, is to not focus, jump straight in on tackling a blank canvas, a finished piece of artwork, because I'm trying to liken it to something else that's, where you need to warm up. So sports, for example. So you may have been a marathon runner years ago, like 10 years ago. You used to be able to run a marathon and you'd like come second place or whatever. You had the stamina to do it, but you haven't run in 10 years. You wouldn't go back to, okay, next weekend I'm going to book myself into a 25 or what? I don't know how long a marathon is. I've never run one. I'm going to book myself into a 25-mile run. I want to get back into this running. You wouldn't do that. You would go, okay, I want to get back into running. I haven't been for a long time. So I'm going to maybe I'll go for a power walk first of all. It's been a long time. I need to warm back up again. And it's the same with art. If you've had a big break, don't jump back in. And especially if you've had a break where you were an artist. This was me, where I'd been an artist for many, many years and spent every day painting for like 7 years. And then I stopped. And after the break, when I returned, I was trying to be that artist that I was. I was trying to make the same artwork. I was trying to come up with the same inspiration. And I wasn't that person anymore. And so it's about warming back up again, which is where the 7 Days of Inspiration fits nicely. The 7 Days of Inspiration is literally just to warm you up. And you can use this anytime, even if you haven't had a break or if you're still making and you need a boost of creativity, do something different. Be challenged to do something that you wouldn't usually do. Because the other piece of advice I have is to not focus on the finished piece as a whole. Focus on the process instead. Focus on what it is that you love about making art, because when that person's comment is in your mind saying you're not good enough, the fear then is that you'll make art and it's not good enough. Well, art making is really subjective to a viewer, and actually the process comes from you and you being in tune with how you hold your materials and what you're interested in, and that enjoyment from getting lost in the making and being curious about something. And if that joy is taken away by somebody else's comment, and then the fear around the output of what you're doing, then it keeps you paralyzed, and that makes me so sad. I've literally nearly been crying this week listening to the stories, because I just think, isn't it heartbreaking that um I'm speaking from my own experience, where you have those big gaps because fear is so powerful that it stops you doing something that you really enjoy. The fear of being ridiculed, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of, because it's so personal. And actually, when we get back in touch with what art is and what we're doing here, and that it should be a really enjoyable experience, and it doesn't matter what anyone thinks of it when it boils right down. It does in some contexts, but at the end of the day, last day on the planet thinking, your art making is for you. It's your process. It's your voice coming out in a visual way. And that's the most important thing. And there will always be people that judge art on different techniques, or whether they like the colors and the way you've mixed them, or because people are always looking for different things. So you'll never appeal to everyone. So just remember, if someone has said a comment to you, that is just their opinion. That is one opinion of billions of people in the world. And it's so subjective. And what I've found is, when you start to really hone in on your own passions and finding your own voice, you will start to connect with people who understand what you do. And I've seen this before, where people have judged an artwork and they've said, hmm, yeah, it's okay. And, don't like this bit here, maybe don't like that bit there. And then when they understand more about the artist and why the artist created the work in that way, that very same person that was criticizing it sees the artwork in a completely different way. They're not looking anymore at the way the marks were, and they think the marks should be different. They're looking at it for emotions, and they feel something. So just remember as well that some people can be looking at art a certain way one minute, and as soon as you start to explain the reason behind it, it's like you've replaced their eyeballs with a different way of seeing. And I've done this myself. I've looked at artwork, and when you're not getting that connection immediately, you might just look at what you can see and the marks, and oh, it makes me feel a bit. And then when you start to learn more, you start to relate it to your own experiences or to your own memories, and all of a sudden the emotional part of the brain starts to go, ding, 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 oh, I'm really connecting with this artwork now, and you'll see it differently. So that's how we help people carve out their own place in the world, by really understanding yourself as an artist and who else is interested. And just remember, it always goes back to you and your passion for making. And no one can tell you your art won't sell, because, and no one can tell you that your art is not good enough. The selling part, no one can tell you your art won't sell, because there is nobody on the planet that understands the buying habits of the billions of people that we have. There is no one. And so if someone's saying, oh, your art won't sell, that's just through their lens in the world. They don't know the whole world. They don't understand pockets of people that want something that they don't see. And in terms of your art being good enough, it all depends on what you are trying to achieve through your art. Not everybody is trying to achieve realism. Not everyone's trying to achieve perspective as they see it. And so once you start to know what you are trying to say, then you can ask advice from someone and say, this is what I'm trying to say through my art. And then someone might say, well, why don't you try doing it this way? Or flip it on its head, turn it upside down. Or if you are trying to draw or paint realism, then you need to work on your scales and measure a little bit more. Then people have a right to help you. But it's still not a place, I don't believe, to say that it's not good enough. It's these words, it's not good enough, are just toxic to people, aren't they? So remember that you do have a place in the world. Your art does matter. And always remember that and tap back in. And if you are living with the fear of someone's comment, or you've had that break and you're terrified of getting back into it again and you just don't know where to start, just bring it right back to thinking about running a marathon. What is the first little step that you need to take? Don't try and, pelt it and run the marathon. Just take that tiny small step, which might just be getting the sketchbook out and throwing some paint all over it. It could be just taking your sketchbook for a walk, close your eyes and draw have a look what's in front of you, close your eyes and then try and draw what your mind's eye can see. Things like that, where you're taking the pressure off standing in front of a canvas, painting a marathon, a final piece, which you work up towards. And just remember that no one can tell you that you're not good enough. And you please don't tell yourself that you're not good enough. There's always room to grow into anything that you want to be or do. And I say this because my friend who's had the big break, she now is scared because she's not that same artist, and she is scared because what's going to come out isn't the same skill as what she had years ago. And that's terrifying to see when it comes out. But just like with running, you can run the marathon again. You just need to start training and you need to start playing, and you can fill that gap again when you get clear on what you want to do. If you want to draw realistically, you just practice it every single day, measuring, seeing, observing. In a year, you will have made massive progress, even if you just do a few minutes every day. And playing, if you don't know what direction to go in, just keep playing with materials, keep playing with ideas, and then you'll start to get a sense of what you want to focus on. So that's my blur for today. And this is what fuels me to do what I do, because so many people message me and I have conversations saying this, that they get so stuck and they put so much pressure on themselves. And I know it because I've been in that situation. I'm kind of coming out of the situation myself right now. And I know that feeling. It is awful. You just want to be amazing at this art making. But if you don't get going and go through that stage where you play and learn and get back to where you want to be, or have that vision, then you're never going to get there. So you've got to take those tiny, tiny little steps. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Monday, everybody. I'm going to check the comments. Wow. Who else here has been criticized and had a break, or is the you're criticizing yourself? Let me know. Oh, Colin, hello. I'm just recovering from a week of late nights after completing a £750 commission. Whoa! The painting was not my best, but the money is gratefully accepted. And I think all artists can say that. The painting was not my best. No, I don't think any artist is 100% happy. Love it, Charlie. Oh, lovely. I'm going there next week. I see. I get you. So it was out, not your usual work. Yeah. Oh, Chantel, my art teacher wanted me to fail because I painted too quickly, and she said I didn't put enough time or effort into my art. In other words, because I painted too fast. And it's crazy, isn't it? And I think it's awful. There's a place to suggest things to people. If you see someone working fast, you could say, have you tried working really slowly? Because sometimes there is a benefit there of challenging the way you work. But when you criticize someone for it and try and force that way of thinking onto somebody, it's just so damaging. So damaging. And I just want to say as well, the reason I champion this so much is because I've had so many people message me about not making and crippled and with anxiety, but then on the flip side, I've got so many stories I've saved from over the years of the impact the art has had on people after they've started making and facing that fear. The amazing stories I've had, and I'd love to put them all in a book because they're just incredible, awe-inspiring stories of so many different walks of life and people from different countries who it's impacted their mental health or their physical health or opened up opportunities and seen them through really, really awful times, just giving them confidence to understand why they're feeling. So many, so many, so many stories, though, that you just go, whoa. And that's what makes it all incredible. Yeah, David says here, I failed to get into college to do art, kept doodling, and I'm so glad that you did. And then Leah dropped out because she didn't feel good enough to be there. That was so me. I was told not good enough to go to art college by my art teacher. My parents listened to her, so I stopped. Oh, Susie, now I struggle and stress just to begin sometimes. Because that fear, yeah, if you've had that happen to you, then it's that fear is raw inside, isn't it? There's a big, strong emotion then. So, is that really Colin? He hasn't given the weather report. I love it. He got so distracted with the commission. Someone's replaced Colin, haven't they, today? Oh, now this Chantel. The funny thing is now I feel like I'm not fast enough. But you know what? Who can tell you the speed to work? I mean, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Because it goes back to some people. Like I'm quite a contradiction. If I'm creating something that's representational, I am the slowest artist in the world. It takes me hours and hours to draw something as I can see it because my brain just My brain wants to just create different angles and lines, and it takes a long time. Now, when I make more intuitive art, and of course, then I'm faster, and I actually, I just I move my body a lot, and I'm splashing in, and I'm so that I'm faster at, and that's where I feel more comfortable and confident. And I like to scribble. If I try and draw something softly and intricately, I end up just scribbling over it, and then to me that starts to look more like me. Um, and so it all goes back, isn't it? And there's nothing wrong with trying these things and trying slow and trying fast, because you don't know until you try it, which is why I say there is a place to suggest these things to people, to just make you think about all the options available in the different ways of making, but not to criticize you. That just makes me really cross. um, yeah, the way to start your art again is to start a sketchbook. Yeah, absolutely. An experiment play, not buying the blank canvas and staring at it. Yeah. So Kelly married to an art teacher. Sometimes I feel so untalented compared to him. Yeah, if you've got someone in the family that you're comparing yourself to constantly, it can be so hard, can't it, to do your own thing? And you've got to work extra hard then on that. I am me. I have a completely different voice. Like, you speak differently, and through your art, you will speak differently as well, and you think differently. Um, so accepting that, I think, is the starting point. Like, you'll have different interests, and there might be some things that are similar, but you are so individually unique. Yeah, I like this. So when I got back into art, I painted my dog on a canvas. I didn't put paint on her. The aim was to just have fun, see what happened with no expectation. Oh yeah, Colin's updated us. Thank you. It's cloudy and grey with the odd scattered showers. Just need the stick now and the fake background. Just keep reminding myself there is no rush. No, there is no rush. So I find it so easy to sketch my little sketchbook, but still struggle with a canvas. I put so much pressure on myself. It's so stupid and frustrating. So I think with that, Susie, what you could do with that is, I think sometimes when you've got your sketchbook, you start to build a, I know this sounds a bit bizarre, but you build a relationship with the sketchbook, and the relationship with the canvas, you're putting that relationship on a pedestal. It's like, you'll see, imagine them as people, you're very comfortable, you can natter with your sketchbook. But this person who's like up there, it's almost like we're putting the canvas in the same kind of league. And as with people are just people. And these things that we are drawing and painted on, they are just things, just a surface. And possibly the way to break it down, and I'm feeling you, Susie, because I have the same fears as well, is to maybe just start with a tiny little canvas and transfer what you've put on your sketchbook to that canvas, and then just start building your way up. Possibly, I don't know whether that would be helpful. The other way is to just really put it into perspective like that this is just the canvas. If what is the worst thing that's going to happen here? That I can change it. I don't have to show it to anybody if I don't want to. It's really interesting though, isn't it, about this relationship with the things you're working with? Because if there is this fear and you're all stiff and you're scared, that will come out in your work. And everyone knows this, that the more loose you are and the more at ease you are, that the best work you do, when you're feeling confident and you're feeling natural and relaxed. So replicating that feeling into the canvas is important. So if you start to think of it like that, possibly, Hopefully that helps. I don't know. So yeah, I got back into running last year, did too much too soon, and then was injured for 6 months. Yeah, and this is the same. The same. If you jump straight into the canvas and you don't like it, you'll go another 6 months without making exactly what I did. I went straight in at the deep end, tried to do the work, and I was like, I am rubbish. There was just such a gap from where I was when I was selling and at uni that I was like, I just can't even bring myself to make art if it's going to look like that. And then I didn't make again. And it's just like, yeah, you injure yourself. So, and now I'm in play mode. I'm in play mode. And that's where it gets exciting. Yeah. Wow. Still can't believe Nish had a 30-year break. 30-year break from my art. My art now is the best it's ever been. And I agree, isn't it? I don't ever paint on fresh canvases, always recycle prints or paintings. Make starting so much less scary. Yeah, great advice, Chantal. Yeah, recommend cheap or recycled canvas just to get going again. I used to run every day. I ran for my county as a teen. Then after years of not doing, I started again a couple of months back. Couch to 5K and couldn't do more than 30 seconds in one go without needing a breather. Now I can run 20 minutes straight. Amazing. Just shows you, doesn't it, when you keep going. So Claire says, I definitely get disheartened by lack of sales or engagements on social media. These things just stop my creativity, and I don't want that to stop me from doing what I love. Exactly. So when you don't get the engagement or the sales, it's like come back to your why all the time, why you're doing what you're doing, and that passion. And then what you'll find, Claire, then is when you start to bring it back to you and why you're doing what you're doing, not only do you start to fuel that creativity more, it will come across in your social media and you'll be talking about it. So it kind of ticks all the boxes as well. Oh, wow, Valerie. It took me 33 years to find myself and my art again, but I'm here now and that's what counts. Exactly. It's just never too late. Look at you all running. I started running this year, managed a 5K, but it took months to get past the challenges. Yes. And I had a couple of smaller issues to push through, but I haven't stopped yet. Same, isn't it, with your art? You've got to keep going. There'll be challenges. There will be challenges, and there will be times it gets really, really difficult. And you've got that gap, and you realize that you've got that gap, and it's so hard to keep going when you know that you need to improve at something. And I think for art to be so personal, it makes you self-conscious, doesn't it, when you make something and you think, I know it's not where I want it to be. Yeah, be patient with yourself. I love it. Yeah, so you feel no pressure sketching. So yeah, it's transferring that mindset, isn't it? Yeah, Will missed out on art altogether for decades simply because I was young and directionless. I thought I wanted to do computing because it was the 80s, 90s, and that's what the growth industry. Yeah. Yeah, love that. I'm just checking. Yeah. Yeah, be happy rather than being in a job you hate. Exactly. Just checking all your comments. You're all amazing. Simone, I keep making without judgment, without criticism. I am loving life. The thing is, as well, with art is I there's always, like with anything, there's always the rough stages as well where you're figuring something out. Like Sharon and I have sat down before when we've set up a still life and we've started to draw together. And by the way, when I sit with Sharon's my friend, by the way, if you don't know, and she's like an amazing artist. And when I sit with Sharon drawing, then you feel, 'cause she's just such an amazing drawing, but she does it all the time. But sitting next to her, I feel the fear. But, I sit next to her and I love her drawings, and mine are mine. And sometimes I wish I was more like Sharon, but I'm not. Because she's her and I'm me. But back to the point of when we are sketching out, even Sharon needs to warm up. And when we looked back at our drawings and when we first sketched it out, both of us were pretty, it was like, ooh, compared to the ones that we did 6, 7 times in, then we started to get more of a feel of what we were looking at. So it's the same with everything, isn't it? Even when you sit down to start making, there's a point of warming up as well. For me, anyway. Yeah, well, you see, for me, my dad always thought that being an artist was not being able to look at things and draw what you see. It's drawing out of your head. That's what I was brought up to think. Like, that you would be able to just sit and draw a character out of your mind. And for years, that's what I thought being an artist was, that because he thought that. So I thought, well, I can't, because I can't draw just something out of my head like that. So for years and years, that's what I thought. Crazy, isn't it? So I never did it. But you're right, David. I think most of us are our own worst critic. Yes. And we have to stop bullying ourselves and just know that if we keep going and keep practicing, we will get better and better and better and better. The cornflakes. Sorry, for those who don't know, I was doing a live video with my members last week, and my son knocked on the door and opened the door, and he went, it's the way he took the breath as well. He went, I've spilt cornflakes on the floor. And then everyone was like, no, not the cornflakes. Luckily, I went downstairs. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought. Luckily, there wasn't many cornflakes left. I think if there were, there would have been just like a massive box of cornflakes all over the floor. So it wasn't that I was shocked by. It was the rest of the house, the bedrooms. It looked like we'd been burgled. So yeah. But they're downstairs now and they said, can we get cereal? I'm like, no cereal. But we are going to get t-shirts now with not the cornflakes. Oh, you make me laugh. Oh, Jules, look at this one. So yeah, my teachers put me down because I only ever wanted to paint or draw wildlife. I even got downgraded because I wouldn't stick to their criteria and paint things I had no passion or interest in. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Oh, Laura's here, by the way. If anyone wants to share, if anyone's in Croatia, I would like to share a studio space. Laura's looking for a studio buddy. Ah, wow, amazing. Right, okay, I'm going to head and wish you all an amazing week. If you are watching the replay, or you just comment and I will come back and check all the comments. Oh yeah, this one before I go though. So yeah, I don't feel like a real artist because I use reference photos. I feel like it's cheating. Oh my gosh, we could literally talk about this for hours and hours and hours because of all the different ways that people choose to make art as well that makes them feel inferior. But the whole creating grids and using projectors, artists have been doing that for centuries. And I personally, I've bought art and I've seen art before where they've left the kind of grids in where they've measured, and I've loved that. I love it. It's like they've left the working parts of working out in. And it goes back to find your own voice and find your own people, because there'll be people out there that don't care that you've used a reference photo. They don't care that you've used a grid. They love what you've produced. And I've got friends, they create digital art, and I've bought a digital piece. It doesn't bother me that it's digital. I love the piece that they made. So yes, keep going, keep going. Have a wonderful, wonderful day and a wonderful week. And I'm not here next week. I'm off next week. So there'll be no motivational live. It's actually my birthday next week. So I'm taking the Monday off. So I will see you. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do the week after because I'll still be away, but I'm going to try and do that one, but I'll be away. So take care, everybody. So I'll see you in 2 weeks for Motivational Monday. If you're a Hub member, I'll see you on Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye.